Rooftoppers, Chapter 20, Part 2. The girl said, "You're very lucky," he said. "He talked about you quite a lot." The other girl raised her eyebrows and said more nothing. Unaccountably, Sophie blushed. "What did he say about me?" The girl shook her head. "That's a secret." Sophie scowled. She felt stupid, and she looked angrily at the floor. Anastasia said, "It was all interesting and mostly good." The other girl nodded and became more emphatically silent. Sophie tried to smile. Anastasia said, "Safi wanted you to know that she's very excited about meeting you." Safi was hiding it well, Sophie thought, but she only said why. Matteo doesn't usually like people, so when he does, it matters. Sophie burned. She ducked behind her hair and tried to think of something to say. "Can I ask you something? You're French, aren't you?" "Of course," said Anastasia, and Safi thumped her chest. Anastasia said, "Vive la France!" "Then, who taught you to speak English?" "The American tourists." "Really?" Sophie hadn't expected that. "Oh, that was nice of them. They don't know they're doing it, but they can eat in the cafes in the park and sit on the benches and chat. "And you sit on the benches near them?" "No, of course not. The park rangers would start to recognize us. We sit in the trees. They never see us. Americans are not good at seeing things. Aren't they?" Sophie had never met an American. "The adults aren't anyway. The children are quick-eyed. You've got to be careful of the children. We speak Russian too, and either Italian or Spanish. We're not sure which it is, but we speak it. Matteo speaks German, but not as well as he pretends he can." "And you are sisters?" "Yes, Safi is younger, I think," said Anastasia. "At least, I think I can remember her not being around. But she can't remember the world without me, so—" This seemed extraordinary to Sophie. She said, "You think Safi is younger. Don't you know how old you are?" Anastasia shrugged. "No, we don't remember having a mother. Neither does Matteo. He keeps saying he is 14, but he forgets it has to go up every year." Anastasia looked Sophie up and down again. There was a straightforwardness in her look Sophie had never seen in the girls at home. She seemed fearless. "How old are you?" "We're about the same height, aren't we?" Sophie shook her head. "You can't tell that way. I'm tall for my age. You look about 13 to me." "Good. I will be 13. Safi can be, what do you think? 11? 10 maybe?" "Let's say 10, said Anastasia. "I like to be older." She smoothed down her dress like a princess at a birthday party, rather than someone with algae caked in her nails. "Please excuse my dress. It was white brocade once. It was so good. I found it in a dustbin. People throw away so much in Paris, but you can't wear white if you want to stay safe. So we stain everything with, what's the word? With paint, with grass. There's a green dust you can get coating like trees, like tree powder, you know." "Yes, I know what you mean. You can find it in white too, actually on willow trees. Charles, my guardian, calls it wild paint. I don't know what it's really called." Sophie looked down at her own cream-colored jersey. "Will this be all right?" "The trousers, yes. The top?" The girl shrugged. "No, not really. White and yellow, those are the most visible colors at night. And cream and pink, they are like wearing a sign. Look at me! They're for people who want to be at the center of attention." Sophie did not agree. Her cream jersey was very plain, and she had knitted it herself in thick, uneven stitches. It had never occurred to her that it might be attention-seeking. She crossed her arms defensively across her chest. Anastasia laughed. "It's a very good jumper. You mustn't be offended. But if you don't want to be caught, you can't ever allow people to look too much at you. You see?" Her English seemed to be faltering. "In exchange, we have the sky. Tu comprendez-vous? You understand?" Sophie nodded doubtfully. "Yes, or sort of." Anastasia watched her with steady eyes. "Not really," Sophie grinned. "I don't see how you can have the sky. More than anyone else, the sky belongs to us. It was what Matteo had said about the rooftops." Sophie said, "How? In what way?" Safi tapped Sophie on the elbow. She rubbed her arms and pointed at the clouds. Anastasia smiled. "She says because we live nearer the sky than anyone else. She says, 'Look up.'" Sophie's eyes followed the girl's pointing finger amongst the uppermost leaves of the tallest tree in the park, which towered above all the surrounding buildings. There were strung 2 hammocks. They were grayish-brown, and Sophie shaded her eyesight against the setting sun. It looked as though they might be made out of sacking. She would never have spotted them if she hadn't been shown where to look. "They are made from the sails of a ship which washed up down the river," said Anastasia. "Before that we used curtains from a theatre that burnt down. But the sails are better. The canvas is very strong, especially if you sew it double thick. We dyed them with squid ink." Anastasia's face was lit with pride. She might have been showing Sophie a country estate. "We use sacks for blankets. You only need 6 or 7 to keep properly warm. In the summer, we don't use them, and we hide them on the rooftops of the opera house so they don't get stolen." Who would steal a sack? Anastasia looked shocked. Hundreds of people, I would. Sacks are valuable. The hammocks rocked very slightly in the breeze. They looked wonderfully comfortable. Sophie's heart screwed tight with envy. Anastasia said, you see, Matteo, he's a rooftopper boy, but we are better with trees than buildings. We're called abrosiers, tree dwellers, and there are some boys who live in railway station roofs. Railway is gare in French, so we say guerriers. She screwed up her face. The guerriers are pas bien, you know? Bad. They steal, they cheat, they cut. Cut what? People. Each other. Sometimes Matteo once, but they are still sky treaders. Still what? Is that not English? Danseurs du ciel. Sky steppers. It's what we call the children who live outside, but not homeless, not on the streets. Those are just street children. They're no good. Streets can never be a home because other people use them all the time. And your home must be private. The trees are our home, Safi and me. Sky treaders, you see. Why do you do it, though? I mean, your hammocks look lovely, but don't you ever get wet and hungry? And how do you wash? And the toilet, it must be difficult. Anastasia's gaze shifted from Sophie's eyes to the space above her head. The shutters of her face came down. We prefer it. Nobody can lock you in a tree. Sophie was not stupid. She changed the subject. So should I stay in my jersey before we go? Safi glanced up at the sun and then shook her head. She motioned to her chest and Anastasia nodded. Safi says no. She says there isn't really time. If you want to come with us, you can wear her spare jumper. She stores it in the oak tree next to the statue of Napoleon. That oak. It was the great pillar of a tree, the first 6 feet wide as a giant. She can climb that one. Yes, we both can. I have a scarf and gloves in a hole in the cedar tree. We spread our things out, all the sky steppers do. That way, if one thing gets taken, you've got more. She looked again at Sophie's jersey. Safi's jumper is grey. Grey will be better. Where we are going is very grey. Thank you, said Sophie. She looked doubtfully at the smear on Safi's cheek. Are you sure? I mean, it's very kind of you.